Hi everyone and welcome back to Alejandro HD, and today I thought I would talk about The Glory. The Glory was one of these things that I found randomly. It was on Netflix, and I was looking through the Asian dramas list just to see if I could find something that was a little bit different, a little bit, something that I don't usually watch, and The Glory was something that caught my eye. Um, for those of you who have seen The Glory, you know sort of how dark it is. When I first started watching it, I honestly wasn't sold. Um, the whole plot of like Moon. Now, here we go. The South Korean names are going to completely. I just absolutely don't know how they're properly pronounced. I've written them down, and I'm going to just refer to them by how I would say them in English. They're obviously incorrect, but just for the sake of my sanity, I'm going to pronounce them how I horribly would pronounce them in English, and I apologise to any South Korean that might be watching, although I don't think any South Korean would watch this. Anywho, so Moon, our main character, who is this lady here, she, as we know, is building this revenge plot against the kids that bullied her at school when she was younger, and so on. I was, like I say, I wasn't sold. I thought, okay, it's a bit, it's a bit of a reach. You were bullied at school, fair enough, but now you've got this big plan to get back of all the antagonists who done you wrong in life and all this sort of stuff. And I thought, is it that worth it? But then we got to episode three, sorry, not season, episode three, and when we got to episode three, because they do the flashbacks, so we got Moon as an older lady, and then like teenage years, and then at school, and when we see her at school and what she goes through from these people that are bullying her, I'm like, nah, it's just wrong on every level. Like, she doesn't get any help from her parents. She doesn't get any help from like the teachers that are supposed to look after her. She doesn't get any help from anyone. And episode three cemented why I was completely like this. That episode three sort of drew me in. I was like, wow, okay, right, get these people. Like you are you deserve your revenge. Now, what I liked about the Glory was it's very very um it's content heavy. There's a lot to take in, and every episode's almost an hour long, so you really got to sit there and watch it and really really take it all in. Each antagonist has their own sort of backstory that we need to sit through as well. So we've got Moon's side. We've got her like she's hell bent on revenge for taking all the for what happened to her, and then we've got to see like the guys who done these horrible things to her as a child. Of course, the main antagonist, of course, is this lady here, Park Yoon Jin. That's completely wrong. We'll call her Park for the sake of argument. And she is the main villain, and she has this life that Moon doesn't. Well, I mean, she says she wants it, but I think it's more like we see how successful and or Moon sees, because we see it from the perspective of Moon, we see how successful Park is with her successful TV show when she's a weather woman, and her child, and her fancy businessman husband, who is this chap right here, and I did not write his name down. Um, he's not really as relevant as the other ones, but we'll get into him in a bit. Yeah, so we see her like life being so amazing and happy and privileged, and that's the thing about the first couple of episodes. We're just like, well, I mean, she can't really help the family she's born into and all that sort of stuff. But then, as the episodes progress, we see how her home life is and how she projects that onto others, specifically our character Moon. And then you're like, nah, this girl needs to get done. She needs to she's done. So yeah, so her, and then there's these guys and this dude here who's kind of like a good guy. Didn't write his name down, but he's on Moon's side. He really likes Moon, and he's willing to go the whole 9 yards for her. Well, like I like this guy. He's very naive. He doesn't really know what's going on most of the time. But he's I think it was like one of the last episodes before the end, where he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna be your what did he say? Like I'm gonna be your knight, or I'm gonna be your white knight or something." And I thought that was yes, moan this guy. Like, whoever this guy is, moan him. I like this guy. And then you've got the other dudes. So like I say, this guy is his wife, and he's his husband, her husband, sorry, and he isn't really. He's sort of pivotal to Moon's plan in a different way because most of the antagonists, so like this guy who we'll get into in a minute, obviously her, and there's a few others. There are a couple other girls who are also involved in this little gang of um, people who upset Moon and so on. He's kind of like her instrument into destroying her life, which is really like there's really sort of a lot of strings getting pulled in the background, and I really think it's cool because you see it at the beginning. They're playing the game, the game of Go is what they call it in South Korea, where it reminds me a little bit of kind of like um I was going to say backgammon. It's not backgammon. Oh, it looks a bit like backgammon. It's not backgammon. It's kind of like Risk or something like where you would build up a territory and then whoever has the most territory on the board wins, sort of thing. And her whole idea is to like sort of entrap him into this whole game that they're playing, and so I think that's really cool. There's a lot of like underlying backstory there. And then there's of course the guy on the very left hand side or the right hand side, depending on how you're watching this. He is one of the other antagonists. He's one of the bullies, the big rich guy who we don't like. And again, I think like the Glory plays on a lot of tropes because there's also the other ones like Lee Sarah. Lee Sarah is one of the other. She's not in this photo. There was an image, but it was not very good. So I was going to use that one, but using this one instead. It's a bit more quality. But there's also Lee Sarah, who is like the artist type girl who's like massively addicted to drugs. And then there's the other one who's like the air pilot, air not air pilot, air hostess as well, who also bullied Moon, but like in a different way. Like she wasn't as involved as the other ones because she also came from like a sort of situation that Moon was from, but not so much um wasn't so much involved as with the bullying as the other girls and the other guys. The other guy who also didn't end up in this photo, the guy with the long hair and I can't remember his name either. He's kind of like similar to the air hostess. Like he's not as powerful or doesn't have as much money as the other sort of antagonists, and he has to run around after our main bad guy here, who like sort of employs him to do his bidding and so on. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in the Glory. I really, really enjoy it, and season two is coming out, I think, in next month actually. So I'm super ready for it. I don't know how. The only thing that annoys me about this, or not annoys me, but the only thing that I'm kind of a bit worried about is I've said before, I said in the start of the video, it's content heavy, so there's a lot of stuff that it gets through, and believe me, it needs to, because you're sitting there and you're watching this like young girl getting like abused, and you're like you feel really really bad for it, and that's great, not great, but you know what I mean. Like the writing is powerful, and it makes you feel part of the story. But the issue I have is how far are they going to take it? I mean, you also have I've completely forgot about this part, but you also have Moon's relationship with Kang, the older lady who Moon promised to kill her husband, which is a bit weird. But like Moon promised to kill Kang's abusive husband if she did stuff for her, like take photos of these guys and trail them around like South Korea, and then they have like a little bond, and then they get like close to each other and so on. And I think that's a really nice little cute thing because she never had a proper mother, and this woman's like a mother figure to Moon, and all that sort of stuff, which is great. But yeah, like one thing that I'm a bit worried about is I don't want them to drag this out too long. Like I know that they've got they've got episodes to fill, but at some point they're going to have to say, right, what's going to happen next? Who's going to get the chop? Who's going to what's going to happen? So yeah, I am excited, but also a little bit like a bit worried about how they're gonna shape it, and I really hope that if they're gonna keep making it very content heavy, that it goes on for a long time. I don't want it to be like very rushed. I don't want this season to be like, oh, Moon's got her revenge, that's it, everything's happy, because that's not how we want. That's not what we want to see. I want to see it like fleshed out and characters really, really getting driven to their core about why they're evil and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, in conclusion, very excited about next season of The Glory. I think you should all watch it. They do have a dubbed version. Don't watch the dubbed version. I tried. I didn't like it. The Korean version is the way to go. It's powerful and real and raw, and you will cry. I promise you, you will probably cry, especially at episode 3. Get episode 3 watched. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that one, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.